Welcome once again to the Allon Exchange, income planning strategies for you who are getting ready for retirement. With Jay and Brittany Hagy, they are the founders and financial advisors of Allon Planning Partners. I'm your host, Spike Spangle. Jay and Brittany, it is great to see you guys here
good
in
to
the
see you.
studio.
Well.
Yeah.
What is on your mind this week when it comes to retirement planning?
Well, mindset. Mindset is what's on our minds. Thinking about how we think and how we think about our
How we
money.
think about money.
And how that impacts the outcomes we experience. Our behavior, our mindset, and the way that we establish these patterns of thinking around our money. And how oftentimes that impacts our financial situation drastically more than we realize.
The power of positive thinking. A lot of time you hear this when we're working out, working together as a team, even trying to take care of our own bodies. But even saying negative things to yourself, like, I'm not good with money.
Sure.
Or, I don't really
Starts you down
understand the
the wrong path.
markets. I'm
Yeah.
not going to worry about that.
I can't do this. I'm never
can't
going
do
to.
this.
It's too complicated.
It's too complicated.
Or
It's
I'm
too
never
much.
going to be out of debt.
All
right?
that negative, that's
You
not
don't
going
want
to
to
help
start
you in
there
the long run.
because the way you think impacts the decisions that you make, which impacts the trajectory in which your life takes, right? And so if we don't start from a basis of and it starts from education, right? Because a lot of times when folks come in and they're saying, this is too complicated, I don't understand this, they've had someone in their financial life speak over their head. And sometimes that's been on purpose. Even in our industry, we see that, is people try to make this so confusing so to where I don't understand any of it, so I just let somebody else handle it. No, we want to help make the complicated, because it is complicated, simple, so that, and elementary, so that you can understand where you're at and how you're going to get to the goal that you want to achieve. Okay, and I think so mindset, and starting with the mindset of I can do this, and that I am smart enough to understand some of this, and allowing someone to put it in terms that is educating me in a simple manner is going to get me to the place where I go, so it affects the decisions that I make.
I want to bring it even one step further back. I totally understand. It is on the mindset. But there's a lot of folks out there who might feel, again, because we're thinking it, that it's not even okay to talk about money, that we need to be quiet about it. And you said 95% or 98% of the research that we looked at, that mental, physical, behavioral illness come from our thoughts. And if we start with the fact, well, we're not supposed to talk about this, how else are we supposed to learn how to invest, how to properly take care of our taxes, how to plan for it? We've got to be able to feel comfortable literally talking about it.
There's a lot of power in the way you think. Because, as Jay mentioned, the way you think impacts your decisions, which determines your outcomes. And so it's got to begin in your patterns of thinking. So, and you do have to go back and look, okay, so what was I taught about money? What was I taught about finance? What was I taught about investing? And correcting maybe some of those things that we misunderstand or mislearned or have a bad understanding of, a wrong understanding of, to be able to correct those patterns of thinking in and around finance.
I want to ask you something, because I do know it's important to you at Allon Planning Partners. The spirituality of it.
Absolutely.
Some people might say it is impolite to talk about money, but we do tithe and give to our communities and churches. And is it okay to talk about money and still be a spiritual person?
We should talk about money. Jesus talked about money more than anything else.
If you read the Bible that we read, that's he does. Jesus actually talked about money more than anything else. And in the Proverbs, when it talks about thinking, is so that a man thinks in his heart, so is he. Like, it literally is that clear. Is like, if you do not have faith and you can't believe, but if you don't understand and you don't start with your thought process in your life, it is very proper to talk about money, because we have to understand how it works. Money, at the end of the day, money's a tool. Money is, not what we're striving after just to get and obtain. It is a tool to get us to the financial goals, or the goals that we have for our family, or the goals we have to bless others and to be generous and to give. Whatever that goal is, if you don't understand and start your thought process correctly, you're not going to be able to hit the goals, because you're going to be making some bad decisions along the way because your thought process isn't right. So we have to talk about money, and it's a very healthy thing.
I can speak for myself, and just knowing that I feel wonderful when I'm in the capacity of being able to give.
Sure.
Whether it's to our church or community or of the time. But even that takes a little bit of planning, because today investments are a lot more complicated. There's so much volatility that's happening right now. We've talked many times about high inflation. So still being able to give, do you mind, as financial planners, carving that into a financial plan and still being able to help folks with charitable giving.
Well, it's a core part of our financial planning.
That's right.
Generosity is one of the core values, not just of our personal lives, but of our firm and how we operate, how we craft these comprehensive financial plans. We encourage people, build in generosity for those opportunities where you want to give. Create that within your plan so that you have the opportunity to do so, right? So
we want to live outside of ourselves.
It should be beyond
ourselves. If it's just all this tunnel focus of what I can achieve and what I can do, you're missing the whole point of why we're doing what we're doing. It's for the next generations. It's for those around us. It's to be generous. Being wealthy is a great goal to have, but it's not just so that I can hoard and have everything for me, right? So that's the mindset that I think we're talking about. One of the core principles that we have is generosity in our firm. Even so much so that we have started an initiative called Allon in Action, to where we include these nonprofits and these groups that are actually doing really good work that we can teach ourselves and others that we help educate to be generous and join us in these endeavors to help others outside of ourselves. So absolutely we want to be generous, and that starts with our thought process of how we think about money.
Brittany, do you also talk about this in the Allon approach?
Yeah,
the book?
we do. We actually have an entire chapter dedicated to generosity, as well as the money mindset
Yeah.
and how we think about money. There's another chapter that talks just about that, because so many people think that it's how they're invested that makes the world of difference. And don't get me wrong, that does matter. How you're invested does matter. But your mindset about your money matters more, because your mindset doesn't just impact your investments. Your mindset impacts your spending. It impacts your saving. It impacts your giving.
Your discipline.
Your everything.
As far as staying invested.
It's one thing that touches all the other areas of your life where kind of investments may stand alone. Your mindset impacts everything else in the way that you live it out, right? So you can have a greater and deeper impact when you're looking at your finances by starting at the root, starting with your mindset, how you think about your money. And that's what is offered in the Allon approach. We talk about that. We're going to continue talking about that on today's show, but you can give a call to us at 866-691-7317 for your complimentary consultation. We'll walk you through this process, the Allon approach, how we attack comprehensive financial planning and how purpose-based planning can bear fruit in your life. That is what this is all about.
Jay and Brittany, we're going to see if we can get our viewers into the right money mindset. And one of the best ways you can do that is call the phone number you see down on the bottom of the screen, schedule an appointment, come on in. We're going to help you with your money mindset, especially for income and retirement planning. Couple of different ways you can do it. Call the phone number, or you can also use the QR code. If you open up your smartphone to the camera function, point it at the black and white box and click on it, it'll take you over to the landing page. You can schedule an appointment right there. What is the wrong money mindset when we get back, and what are some positive action steps we can help you with to get you in the right money mind frame when we get back with Jay and Brittany right after this.
Allon means oak tree, and when we began this firm 7, 8, 9 years ago, something like that, we were searching, trying to determine what do we really want to build this foundation on? How do we want to depict and share this mission that we have with the world? What does this look like?
And so as we were processing through what should be the grounding factor, the name of our company, Allon really stood out. It's actually the Hebrew word for oak tree.
And we knew that the oak tree was going to be the symbol for what we are, how we operate, because those are the kinds of financial plans we want to create.
And so Allon comes from the Psalms, where it talks about the tree that is planted by the water that has deep roots, that even in times of drought, this tree can sustain life, and it bears fruit in every season.
That really became the foundation and the mantra of our firm. Why we do what we do, who we are, how we operate.
We want to create plans for people with deep roots that even in times of turmoil it hits their life. Maybe it's a death in their family. Maybe it's another financial crisis. Maybe it's COVID, and something that we can't even see coming. But the roots are so deep that they bear fruit in all seasons, because we have a plan for every season of life.
Welcome back to the Allon Exchange with Jay and Brittany Hagy, financial advisors and the founders of Allon Planning Partners. And today we're talking about the money mindset. but making sure that we are not only taking care of ourselves, but also taking care of our community and feeling okay to be open and honest.
Sure.
I'd like to learn more. I'd like to understand more. Sometimes we just bury this stuff and say, well, I'm embarrassed. I don't want to tell anybody what
That's
I don't
exactly
know.
right.
Because I don't know.
Yeah. Well, Jay, what would you say are some of the main components
Sure.
of what you cover when somebody comes in the first time?
Yeah, and that mindset of this is not too complicated for you to understand. That's what we want to get involved here. We want to make sure that you understand there is a lot of complication in this, but your mindset is, I can understand it. And we make it really easy. We give you 5 components of a financial plan that you have to hit. It's your asset management. It's making sure that you're properly allocated and that you have the right investments to get to your goal. It's your income plan, to make sure that you do have an income plan in retirement to make sure I can continue my lifestyle. Then it's a tax plan to make sure that you are not paying Uncle Sam more than his fair share and that you do not give too much away in the venue of taxes. Then there's an estate plan, which says if I no longer can make those decisions for myself or I'm deceased, how are my assets being handled, right? We have to cover that. And then a healthcare plan, because we know that as we all age and we all get older, that we're going to have to spend more money and time towards healthcare. How is that not going to affect my income plan and my asset management plan? All of these things work together. So if we can hit those 5 key areas right there and make you understand that, hey, this is complicated, but we'll help take some of that pressure off of you by educating you on those 5 areas, you can have peace of mind to know that you can have the right mindset about money and that I am going to get to my financial goal, right?
Yeah, and people who have a healthy money mindset don't say things like, I'm never going to be out of debt, or this is never going to work for me.
Right.
I'm never
Or
going
I'm
to get
never
to
gonna
where I
retire.
want to be.
That's right.
Yeah, retirement's not an option, right? Let's make a shift there. The Allon Exchange. Let's exchange some of those wrong mindsets for some better mindsets, some healthy mindsets. And folks with healthy money mindsets, they believe things like, I have the freedom to spend, but I can also tell myself no to an
have the freedom to say
unnecessary
no.
purchase. Yes,
Yeah.
freedom to spend and say yes, but I also have the freedom to say no. That's healthy. A healthy money mindset says, I enjoy helping others by giving generously, not just hoarding, having a hoarding mindset. It's all mine. It's all mine.
Or I'm scared and I've got to keep it all.
Well, that's
Yeah.
fear-based, right? That is a fear-based mentality. And when fear is in the driver's seat, it's going to lead you the wrong direction. I don't have to compare myself to others. People with a healthy money mindset
That's a big one.
aren't living in this, I got
that's
to
a
keep
big
up
one.
with the Joneses. You
Yeah.
don't, let me tell you, listen, you don't have anybody to keep up with or be better than, or it's not some race to beat your neighbor or your friends. Don't get
Yeah.
caught in that trap, because that will sink your boat.
I want to set in that one for a
will
minute,
sink
because that one for me is very personal, because I'm a competitive person. I want to win, right? I want to win. But I've had to teach myself along the way, with money especially, that it really is a game of golf. Like, I'm competing against myself. Am I hitting my goals? Am I getting to the green a few strokes before I did
personal,
last time?
right?
It's very personal. It's not about looking around and being like, oh man, that guy. There's always going to be someone who is ahead of you and someone who's a step behind you. Always, no matter where you're at in life. So that trap of comparison and the money mindset, that'll trap you forever, and you'll always be on a treadmill trying to keep up. So you have to play golf. You have to look at your score, and you have to know that you're getting better and a step closer
In
to your
all
goal.
forms of self-help books, they say stop comparing yourself to
You
that
have to.
person across the street, that person with a bigger car, a bigger house. You
A
don't
bigger
know
debt
how
load.
happy they are on the inside. You don't know
Yeah.
what they've done to leverage those
Yeah.
other assets and those toys.
You're right.
It all starts within. And I think this goes back to something you say all the time, is giving a goal and giving a purpose to your
Yeah,
money.
that's the purpose-based planning. And that's why, man, all that stuff doesn't even matter, right? Name your purpose. What is, you've got to know your purpose. And when it comes to your finances, when you have specific goals, you've named your goals, you've named your purpose, and you know what that is, then you can utilize your dollars to help you get there. Because money should be something that serves you, not you serving it. So don't get caught in that trap where it's this rat wheel, right? Where you're always going, always doing, never a break, because I have more, I need more. It's never enough, like Rockefeller. When will you have enough? Just a little bit more. Don't get caught in that trap. And when you walk through purpose-based planning, which is what we talk about and how we operate with our financial plans, you can walk with purpose, and you don't have to get caught up in all of those other things, because you know, this is my purpose. It doesn't matter what John's doing or Larry's doing or what my friends, it doesn't matter, because I know my purpose and I know where I'm headed, right?
Yeah.
And I've got my path to get there. And that can keep you focused. Again, begins in your mind. How you think determines your actions, which determines your outcome. Begin with your thought patterns.
The passion
around all
for
of
what
that.
you're talking about is fun for me, but when we start talking about then planning and putting this, is this going to be about spreadsheets and balance sheets and income statements and getting this all on paper? Because then it starts to sound like a lot of work.
Listen, there's X's and O's, there's black and white in this stuff. Yes, we can go all day long talking about the X's and O's, the spreadsheets, the asset allocation. There are things that we have to address, right, that are a little bit not so much fun to speak about,
More
but it gets us to
transactional.
where we're going. They're more transactional. But if it's not grounded in the purpose, then we're not going to stick to it. We don't want to stick to a diet if it's not grounded in the purpose of making me healthier or putting me in a better space than I'm in right now. The same way when it comes to your finances, you won't stick to it unless you're purpose-based and driven with that purpose. So I would say, yes, there are spreadsheets, there are things that we're going to walk through that way in the black and white, but ultimately, people don't make decisions based on spreadsheets. I don't make a decision based on a spreadsheet. I base a decision based on, we're having dinner and Brittany and I have goals that we want to get to, and what's the most efficient, effective way that we can get to that goal? That's what we have conversations with people about. Not just about, oh, you need this investment versus that investment, but how are we going to practically get you to the better place you want to be most efficiently and effectively? And that's where we're going to make our decisions, right? We're going to make our decisions there, not just based on purely, you need this investment vehicle versus that investment vehicle.
Right, and again, since we're talking about the way that we think and patterns that we think, sometimes we have information that is based just on feelings or, as you said, knee-jerk reactions. So when we talk about money mindset, do you also address things like, I want to take Social Security early because it's not going to be there,
yes.
or I want to retire as soon as possible because I've had it with this rat race, or I'm going to take care of the finances because you've been out there working for 30 or 40 years. I've been taking care of that. Now I want to take.
Sure.
There are all of these things that are stuck on our head, and sometimes you need to talk with somebody who is independent. But I also want you to address just a little thing on best interests in mind. If you could explain just a tiny bit before we go out to break on a fiduciary. What does that mean to you guys?
Yeah, being independent and fiduciary is very intentional. That is what we are. That's who we are. We chose that route intentionally because that means that we sit on the same side of the table as the clients that we get to work with. And we're not across the table. We're not you versus us. It's on the same side of the table. We are working for your best interest. Legally, we are, and as well as ethically. Those are the choices that we make. So we are bound to do that in your best interest. And we get joy in doing that.
Yeah, so we want to let everyone know we choose to be independent and fiduciary. Right? We're fiduciary in that we put the client's best interest ahead of our own, but ultimately it's because of who we are. We have the mindset, we want to see you excel. We want to see you achieve your goals. And if you're doing that, we're achieving our goals, right? So we put ourselves intentionally on the same side of the table as you. When you come in, we're not saying pull out your checkbook and we got to figure out a way for you to pay for this. No, we want to give something to you. And what we want to get to you is a plan that puts you on track to hit the goals that you have.
Jay and Brittany, we've got a message about being a fiduciary. So folks, please don't go anywhere. But if you would like to get started on your own written financial plan, find out the true purpose of where money lands in your life, it starts with a phone call. Call the phone number below so you can schedule an appointment to come in to Allon Planning Partners. More with Jay and Brittany right after this.
A fiduciary is really just a legal term saying that we are legally bound to hold our client's interests before our own. And so we are licensed that way. We're licensed as a fiduciary, which means that we have that legal obligation. But hopefully, folks, when they come in, they understand that we take it to the next level. We're actually trying and strive, I guess, to treat everyone as family. And so we want to make sure that when folks walk in here that we're not trying to sell them a product. We're not trying to place them into something before they get into the door. We really want to take a unique approach to whatever situation that they have and craft a plan that's most beneficial for them.
Come see what sets us apart and what makes us different. And so much of that is that it is beyond this transactional approach. It's beyond just the transaction into the relational.
So that's really what we do day in and day out. And so we live not only by the fiduciary standard, but by the family standard, because we want folks to know that we want what's best for them, because ultimately what's best for them is what's best for us, because it keeps clients happy. And so that's what we want to do. We want to make sure that they have the best situation possible for their finances.
Welcome back to the Allon Exchange with Jay and Brittany Hagy. They are the founders and financial advisors of Allon Planning Partners. And today we're talking about the proper mindset for planning for your own retirement. And again, we understand sometimes people feel uneasy talking about money or embarrassed. They don't want to pick up the phone. They don't want a financial advisor to see the mistakes they've made. But, you know, when we lead our lives with financial decisions, do you find people to be happy, Jay?
Well, here's the deal. I said in the last segment that money is a tool. And what I mean by that is money makes an excellent servant, but a miserable master. You do not want to be serving money. You want your money to serve you. And when you place those backwards, that's when we become miserable. Because when we're serving, oh, I've got to chase this dollar because I've got to chase this thing that my neighbor has. We talked about this, right? But ultimately, you want your money serving you as a tool to get you to where you want to go. And the way you do that is align your principles correctly, align your goals, align your purposes, and allow someone, a third-party fiduciary, to come in and speak into your life and say, here's where you may be out of alignment a little bit. Kind of like a chiropractor would, right? You're a little bit out of alignment here. We want to align this back up, because money is not your master, money's your servant. And that makes an excellent way to do life when you're doing it that way.
Here's a specific thing that you probably deal with a lot, is that folks identify with their money, maybe even their salary or whatever they have.
Yeah.
What about when people then leave the workforce? They kind of lose that identity, that almost their financial identity. Do we want to define that before we go into
and
retirement?
this is something that we really enjoy talking about. We did a radio show talking specifically about really correctly defining our identity, because what happens is so many people get to the point of retirement where they are no longer working full-time, and then they're like, who am I? What? I don't have this role to define me anymore.
Or their spouse is like, who are you?
Who are you?
I don't know you anymore.
Yeah.
But if we, again, this is the proactive versus reactive. Let's be proactive, and let's get our identity aligned correctly from the beginning, and let's begin it correctly in our mindset, to know who we are, to know what our purpose is, to know even our purpose with our money, what that is, and know that it's not our money that defines us.
And
it's not a role that defines us. It's not a job that defines us.
And to speak to that a little clearer, when we ask people when they come in, okay, if money was no object and you had all the money in the world that you have, what would you do? What would you do with your time? Because time is the most precious commodity that we have. So what would you do with your time if you did no longer have to go to work? Because if you let us help you with your retirement planning, we can probably see to that. We can see that we can create an income stream and an income plan to where you do not have to work for dollars anymore. What is your identity? If you could do anything you wanted to do with your time, what would you do?
Right.
And we help folks craft that, because what we don't want to see is you get stuck in this, well, my job is who I am. You know?
But
and
we're
some
missing
people,
out.
that's who they are. Like some people actually get to do what they love, and I appreciate that, and you may never retire, because if you get to do what you love, you never work a day in your life.
And you have the health to do it.
Okay,
That's
so
a big
that's
one.
that. But if you are working a job to get to the retirement years, okay, we want to see, what is your identity? Who are you really? What would you love to do if money was no object and you could do whatever you wanted with your time? We want to see you get to that, and we want to help plan for that.
Well, retire, repurpose is what we call it. We don't want people just to retire and say, oh, life is over, right?
Yeah.
No, it's not. You've got so much more to give, so much more to offer. So retire, repurpose. What does that look like for you? What could be a newfound purpose in that stage of life? You've got more time than you've ever had. Hopefully you've planned. And if not, again, that's what we're here to help you do, to plan, to be able to have the resources you need to serve your purpose, right?
There's two parts of it too, because there's the empty nest part of it, or there's the accolades and achievements of being at work.
Sure.
So the kid, look, we're going to have the empty nest eventually, or we're going to be leaving from the work. So we want to know what that purpose is. That can be volunteering, that can be teaching, that can be doing something new, teaching yourself.
What is your heart driven?
Let me give you an
Anything.
example of this, because we've got a client, a single lady, wonderful individual, and when she came to us, I don't know, 5-6 years ago, maybe, we sat down at the table and we asked that question: what would you do if time or if money was no object? And she began talking about this passion, this desire for teaching overseas, teaching children overseas. And she's like, but I don't think I could ever do that. That'd be so. And so
I don't have the resources
we
for this.
realized in that moment, man, she is passionate about this. This would be really fulfilling to her. Let's see how we can help her get towards this goal, right? And we began to walk that out with her. And today she is in another country overseas, serving
Loving
and
life.
working, teaching English to these
Loving
underprivileged
life.
kids.
Yeah.
And she is so fulfilled. She loves what she does because she has found her purpose, and she has not misplaced her identity. She knows who she is. She knows who she belongs to, and she has embraced it completely and is living that out. That is what we want to help you do. We want to help you find your sweet spot, whatever that
Your
is.
identity, your purpose.
That's right. Find your fit.
And we start by having the right money mindset, where we started in the show. If you do not have the right mindset towards your money, you may not get to accomplish the goals that you want, because your thinking is going to drive your decision making, and
It'll
your
hold you back.
decision making
Yeah.
will end up to be
Right.
where you're at.
It'll hold you back.
It'll hold you back, and it'll get you, or it'll get you to where you want to be.
Well,
so that's
and
what I would say.
oftentimes that mindset that's erroneous, it's fear-based. More than likely, we see that it's fear-based.
Yeah.
And fear will always hold you back.
That's right.
Fear will always keep you from where you could be, especially when it comes to your money. And we see this in two ways. We see this in people who are afraid to spend, right, because they've saved. And then we also see this in people who are afraid because they haven't planned.
Yeah.
Those are two very different, sides to the coin. But they're both fear-based.
Right,
And
right.
so we attack both of those, and we really handle both of those with those individuals
And
we work
taking
with.
the fear and the emotion away from something you both have said throughout the program is that it's a tool. Money
That's
is
right.
a tool.
Money is
It's your
just a
Let's
tool.
not feel one way or another about it. Some people might have more tools than others,
Right.
but it's still a tool. Let's not get emotional about it, and let's decide what we want to do with it.
Yeah.
Jay, why don't you tell us a little bit more about the book?
Yeah,
before we
let
leave
us
here today?
help you. Let us help you create the right patterns and the right money mindset. We have a whole chapter on this book. When you come in for your complimentary consultation, the things that we're going to give you is a complimentary financial review, and we're going to get you a copy of this book so that you can get your mindset right about money and hit the financial goals that you have. Call this number, 866-691-7317.
Thank you so much for watching the Allon Exchange with Jay and Brittany Hagy. Call that phone number so you can get your own complimentary written financial plan. We'll be back next week.